and this is episode 2. Today we're talking about golden hand syndrome, and we're in part 2 of a 5-part series. Just to refresh your memory, golden hand syndrome is the inability or difficulty in releasing with anyone other than yourself. And today we're going to talk about the first habit that you may have that you want to lose if you don't want to get golden hand syndrome, which eventually turns into ED. And that habit is using lubricant. Using lubricant when you masturbate is key. 97% of men don't use lubricant. Over time, they train their body to come with the dry, tight grip. It's not the same feel as like what's inside of a woman, so over time, they're training themselves to only come with that dry, tight hand. Now, the inside of a woman is lubricated. And when you have a cavity that's not lubricated and it's tight and dry, and you continue using it or doing what we call dry jacking, you are definitely going to have problems. In the urology world, we call it the death grip. The reason the urology world calls it the death grip is because they know that over time, if a man continues pleasuring himself with that dry, tight grip over and over, eventually he will be in a position where after 2 to 3 minutes of lovemaking, he'll go soft, or he'll turn into what we call the marathon man. And he can pound and pound and pound, but he really has a difficult time in releasing. He really has to focus to release. And oftentimes he can't. He ends up taking care of himself. And it's very, very frustrating, not only to him, but to his partner. So the best lube that you can use is the one thing that's closest to what's inside the female body. Hair conditioner. Unscented hair conditioner will even be better because then the chemicals from the perfumes won't burn. But the unscented hair conditioner is the best thing that you can use for masturbation. Now, there are other things out there. There's ID Glide, which is a personal lubricant. There's a KY liquid that's good. There are several other things that you could use, but the one thing you want to remember is if you can put the lubricant in the palm of your hand, and it's about the size of a quarter, and it lasts you from the beginning to the end of your time, then it's good, because that's similar to what's inside the body. But if you have to keep adding and adding and adding, it has friction properties, and it's not good. And it's training, your body is being trained with these friction properties over time to not come inside of the female body. And that's not what you want to do. You want to make sure that you're in a position where if you want to masturbate, that's fine. Masturbation is healthy. If you want to masturbate, that's fine. But if you want to make love and you don't want to go soft after 5 minutes or turn into the marathon man and not be able to release, then you're going to need to learn how to use the lubricant and how to balance it out so that you don't get golden hand syndrome. Now, those of you who are thinking, well, I use lotion, I use almond oil, I use baby oil, oh, I could sometimes use olive oil, and you're thinking, I have coconut oil, I have this, I have that. That's all fine and dandy. Those oils are great, but not for masturbation. And the worst, the very worst, is Vaseline. Think about it. Think about Vaseline. If you're using it to masturbate, that's not what's inside of the female body. Vaseline, that has serious friction properties to it. You're actually doing twice the damage by masturbating with Vaseline because it's going to take you 2 to 3 times the amount of time to retrain your body once you've gotten your body used to that touch of Vaseline and that heavy-duty friction. So Vaseline is not what you want to use at all. And I've heard that from many people that they use Vaseline. And it does take longer to retrain their bodies. Now, the best lubricant you can use is something that's water-based. There's the silicone-based, there's the water-based. I would recommend that you use the water-based, because with the water-based lubricant, you're not going to have the problems with infection. A lot of the silicone lubricants have infection problems. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. A lot of people have infections with them. A lot of the silicone-based lubricants you can't use with toys if you're into toys. Water-based is safe with a condom. Some of the silicone-based ones, you can't use them with condoms, and people don't know that, but it breaks down the condom, and then that, of course, breaks down the protection level. What's really interesting is about 50% of men and women say it's much easier to achieve orgasms using lubricant. Now, to me, that makes perfect sense. But a lot of people who haven't been in the habit of using lubricant don't really understand. A lot of men don't use lubricant when they're masturbating because they think it's messy, or it takes extra time to clean up, or whatever the excuse may be. But the bottom line is, when you're in a situation where you don't use lubricant, each and every time you're not using lubricant, you're training your body that it's okay to not come inside of a lubricated cavity, because it has your dry, tight grip. So you really want to be careful about that. And a lot of women will not want to be on the receiving end of a man who has the habit of not using lubricant and acquires golden hand syndrome, because if you turn into what I call the marathon man, and you have trained your body to only come with your dry, tight grip, so that when you get inside of this woman, and in the back of your mind you're thinking, well, gee, women want to last forever. And that's not really the way it works. When a woman is with a man that's a marathon man, it's real interesting to see just how long it takes her to be busy when he wants to make love, or she has hormone issues, or she has a headache, or she's doing humanitarian events in the local community, and she comes up with all sorts of reasons why she can't have sex. Because in her mind, she's thinking, you can go, you could go pound the pavement, honey, but you're not going to pound me. And women that get pounded and pounded and pounded for long periods of time with a marathon man get very resentful. And I've talked to over 300 women. When I was writing my book, I talked to women, and I found out that, they were all telling me about the same scenario. They were all telling me about the men that were really, they were really, in their minds, they were really inconsiderate by spending so much time masturbating, because they knew that when it came time to have sex, that they had already trained their body to perform with their hand, but not really with them, and they were very irritated. And it's, I know you're not wanting to hear this. I know that if you're a man sitting there, you're thinking, well, gee, I don't think that happened. Well, I want to make a difference in your life. I want to help you rebuild your relationships. I want to help you rebuild your strength, or regain it, or maintain it. But I just have to tell you that I am very passionate about what I do, and I know for a fact that without lubricant, you're going to be soft within the first minute or two, and you're going to be in a situation where you're the marathon man. And it just takes time. Everybody's a little different, but there are 12 stages of golden hand syndrome. And eventually, if you continue on, you'll get to the 12th stage, and then you'll end up with the ED. And the doctor will say, it's age, and here's the pills. And you don't want that to happen. You really don't want that to happen. And what's even worse than that happening, it's that the woman that you're with loves you. She adores you. When she's in bed with you and you're playing the marathon man, you know, she makes it through, but she remembers those good times in the beginning when you didn't need to have all that additional pounding. And she remembers in the beginning that you were very attentive toward her and that you were just as sweet as could be, and you weren't faking any orgasms back then, or you weren't taking matters into your own hands. So in her opinion, she's thinking, gee, I took care of him a lot better back then, and maybe I'm not pretty enough anymore. Maybe there's another woman, or maybe I'm doing something wrong, or maybe I'm too fat, or, you know, maybe he just doesn't desire me. Why isn't he releasing inside of me? And women take it very personally. They blame themselves when their partners can't release. The good news is it only takes about 10 to 15 times of masturbating and using lubricant to start to get used to the feel of it. Right now you're not used to it. The first couple times it feels awkward. But once you get used to the feel of it, it's like, yeah, this is good. I can do this. And you start getting used to it. After about 10 to 15 times of doing it with the lubricant, then you can start to feel a difference of using the lubricant. And you know, depending on which stage you're in golden hand syndrome, there's 12 stages. So depending on where you are, we'll kind of tell you exactly how long it may take. But I would say, you know, if you're not up in the 10 to 12 range, you know, anywhere from 3 to 6 months of using lubricant, maybe 9 months at the most, but maybe 3 to 6 to 9 months of using lubricant to kind of get to the point where you were back where you were before you trained your body to only come with your dry, tight grip. So that's good news. That's real good news. I just want to say thanks for hanging in there till the end of this video. And a recap, I think the best lube that you can use is hair conditioner that's unscented, or like an ID Glide. ID Glide is on Amazon, and that's also great. The others that are on the market, the personal lubricants, they're all similar. They're all similar. I prefer that someone use ID Glide or like KY Liquid, because they don't have the friction properties. And like I said, if you put a small amount in your palm of your hand, about the size of a quarter, and it takes you all the way through the journey, it's perfect. Otherwise, if you have to keep adding, it has friction properties, and that's not like what's inside of a woman. But I will look forward to seeing you for the next video. We're going to go into the second habit that you want to drop. Thank you for hanging in there. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. And blessings to you. Bye-bye.